Hello and welcome to Frequent Technologies. Today's topic is API. In this video, we'll cover what is an API, why do we need it, which API is best, and how to implement an API in your web application using one of the famous open source language PHP. So keep watching till the end, start learning, start exploring.
To know your mind, hands on your body. I don't wanna wait.
What is an API? An API stands for Application Program Interface. If we split the whole phrase in the parts, application stands for your project or an application you're working on or you're creating. Program. Program is an existing application from where you need to grab your data, content, or a material for your live web application. Interface. Interface is a term that works as an intermediary between your application and the program or a database you need to grab data from. Need of an API. Now let's talk about the travel industry in the India. We have big brands in the travel industries, for example yatra.com, Make My Trip, GoIbibo. They all are working in all the queries related to travel, for example air, hotel, cars, and vacation booking packages. But do you really think each of these companies have the live data of flights, the live availability of rooms in the hotels? No. So where from they are getting the data? They are getting live data from airlines, hotels using APIs. Simple answer. What is APIs? So how APIs work? Count yourself a visitor as a client, and whenever a visitor asks for something, your application generates a get, post, put, or delete request using an API, for example a REST API, that asks a server or an existing program the required data, and in return that program database return the data in the form of JSON or XML. Now the type of APIs. One of the famous API is SOAP and second one is REST. But today we'll be talking about REST only. Why REST? And what is REST? REST is RESTful API, representational state transfer. It was designed to take the advantages of existing protocols, takes advantages of HTTP protocol while using the APIs. It was designed by Dr. Roy Fielding in 2000. Now the question is, why REST API? Why? Because obviously everyone wants to use the simplest method to generate their application, and REST is the answer for that. It is much more easier than the SOAP. Now let's talk about how to implement an API in your PHP application. Here is the file for my PHP code for the same folder. Let's create a function to call a REST API now. We'll give this function a name, calling REST API. First thing for the function we'll need here is the URL. Second, we'll need username, a password, but all the REST APIs doesn't require the username password, so we'll keep it null by default. Best method in the PHP, best and the simplest method in the PHP to call APIs from server to server, we have a function called curl. On the php.net and the core php.in, we have complete detail about the curl. For now, first of all, we'll have to start the curl here. We'll take a variable ch and call a function curl init. This function will generate a curl call and turn the objects into the variable ch. Now we'll be using this variable from top to bottom in the whole method of calling the REST API. Second thing, we'll have to call the URL first of all. That will do curl set OTP or PT, sorry, $ch curl opt underscore URL, and here we will be passing URL variable semicolon. In this line, what we are doing is we are calling REST API from URL using variable name URL and transferring the whole returned objects to the variable ch. After that, we'll have to call a curl set opt. Here we will again assign our variable $ch. Then in the capital letters curl opt underscore return transfer By this, we are transferring the whole returned data from the curl request to our ch variable. Now, we'll check if there is any error in the call. Why? Because URL assigned in the starting possibility is that isn't existing anymore. So to check that, we'll use a function, a condition, sorry, curl exec execution $ch check equals to false. If the system returned false based on that URL, then system will generate an error our curl request returned an error. And what's that error? Curl error. Now, if the system didn't generate any error, then we use the else condition. Now we'll check if while calling a username and a password was sent to the method, if username equals to null, sorry, not null, then in actually as I specified before, the username and the password isn't must sometimes. So I am creating a system which is dynamic. That's the reason I'm using the if condition. If the username was passed in the call REST API function, then we'll pass these username and the passwords to call our API successfully. Again, for that, curl set opt $ch. Now the option will use curl opt user pwd. Here we'll pass the username and the password as username colon password. Now curl set opt $ch curl, sorry, in the capital letters, curl options will remain in the capital letters always, opt underscore http authentication curl authentication basic. Now let me explain you here. Curl setup opt curl username password. In this line we are passing our username password for the authentication. In the second line, we're passing option to specify which method to use and check our username and password. Now, without the if condition, we'll use a function called curl exec $ch semicolon, and now we'll pass everything to a variable, you can say data. And this data function, data variable will have complete data returned from the API, and in the end we'll have to close the curl call we have started in the very start. For that, we'll use curl underscore close bracket $ch semicolon. That's it. This is the whole function. Now, for the live data, I cannot share my personal websites with you, my existing products. But so to do that, I have opened my existing product API in the browser. See, this is how the JSON or XML data will be returned through the API. I can show you my code for live API because I had to specify my username and the password in the call. I'll tell you what's the best data method to use this whole data in your system. To do that, we'll just turn this whole JSON return into the PHP arrays. For that, I'll simply use data equals to JSON decode data comma true semicolon, and then I print my data. See, the whole data turned into the nested arrays. For the better visibility, I'll use echo pre. Pre is used for predefined HTML design for a display. See, we have multiple return datas. So this is for the day. Thank you for watching. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like and share. Start learning, start exploring.